All right, welcome to the Big Black Bob YouTube channel. Here with Big G, Geoff Dugopolsky himself, the man, the myth, the legend of Big G Garage on YouTube. Geoff is a dear friend of mine. We've known each other over 40 years probably, and
it's been a long time.
He is my go-to. He's my differential setter-upper. He's he's definitely a voice, a reason for anything I think I'm going to do. Help me with the gear vendor. He's been in a lot of my videos, as you know. Geoff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Amongst our group of friends, probably 5 of us from the old neighborhood, most of us had a muscle car of some sort, but we kind of, like Street Outlaws, right? They have a list. Ours wasn't so much a list as just who's the number one guy, who's the fastest guy, right? Matt Spaniard in the paperweight with his 400. You at the time had the 72 El Camino.
Yeah, that wasn't very
4-speeder.
Yeah.
Fun car.
But we did a lot of street racing with it, and what was showing up on the streets at that point was a lot of 5-liter Mustangs and stuff, Fox body Mustangs when they were new.
Yeah.
And I was wiping them up left and right, and when there was one I couldn't beat, hey Vasquez, race this guy, and he'd get him, because he was only half a second faster, but these guys were just beating me by like a door.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was.
It's like, I know a guy.
Right, and he wouldn't race until I set it up for him. I'd go through 4 or 5 cars a night, and then I'd finally get somebody to beat me. And I'm like, oh, okay, get out the big guns. Hey, Bob, I got a race for you. I got it lined up for you.
Yeah.
And I talked so much shit. They were ready to kill him. It was funny.
I'm sure he appreciates it.
Yeah, because he didn't really want to talk to anybody.
No. All right, so Bob, with his 400, first to go to the track in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Drops down 1360s.
Yeah.
I come in with my 396. I'm right there, but through the exhaust. So then I think you're the one that said, hey, if you undo the 3 bolts on the header flange and just swing it over and stick one in there to hold it, you could open it up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, let me try
that.
Let me see if that wakes up. Half a second. Boom.
What?
Contemplate the fact that you could possibly die by? Drag racing is a dangerous sport. Ladies and gentlemen, after years and years and years of dispute, it will all be resolved. You wanted the best, you asked for the best, you got the best. Give us your initial reaction, Bob. 13.66. You're now a proven .02 faster than Bob's best time on your first run.
Just it's too slow.
Did it feel hard?
It felt lame.
Burnout, it's smoky.
Lame, I blocked it out for a year. Anyway, it doesn't run more than 2 tenths faster. The exhaust comes off there for 3rd pass.
We opened up the exhaust, went 1310.
Yeah.
I'm new number one. Look at me.
Yeah. All right. King of the Hill.
Then you come up with a Grand Prix.
Right. And it was nasty all race car. And like every time I drove it down the street, I'm like looking around thinking I'm going to get arrested, which is nothing near what we're driving around now.
Yeah.
But this thing's got like, I didn't have, we didn't have a lot of money back then. So it was a thrown together 13-to-1 compression, 400 small block, and 461 heads on it. Everything was gutted in the car. Car had no dash. It had a tack, oil pressure, and temperature like screwed to where the dash was. It had a steering column.
We'd laugh at a car like that now.
Yeah, steering column, a steering wheel, and a seat. That was it, and a roll bar. Because I know this thing's going to be so fast it needs a roll bar.
And I think back then it was like every little pound mattered. So you went to manual steering on that thing.
Yeah,
and, you cut out all the stops to make it race and lighter. And
we took like I said, the interior was just gray paint. Like there was no cloth in there. It was just everything was painted.
So that went low 12s.
Yeah, 12 flat. Never needed the cage.
Never hit. So you never hit 11 in that car, right?
No.
'Cause you said it was you'd break it, fix it, break it.
Yeah, it blew head gaskets and it was just eating parts left and right.
So while you were doing that, Bob had this 454 in waiting. You said, I think it sat at the machine shop for a while, and he was just kind of slow to get it through. But then he comes down and lays the gauntlet down, goes 1140s. So now Matt Spanier's the new number one.
Yeah, that was fast.
Then I had to rebut him, so I built my own 454. I'd run the 396 for a while in different variations, but I wasn't in the 11s yet. I was still hovering in mid 12s, and that's not going to cut it if you want to be the number one dog.
Right.
So I built the 454 with the Crane Saturday Night Special Cam, bottom of the list of the Summit catalog. When you look at that, camshafts for them, the solid flat tappet. I think it tickled the high 11s for a little while, and then I lost a rod. So I knew that wasn't going to do it. So I built the 489, and we were getting closer to Bob, but we still weren't there yet. So then I did a top-end deal and put some Brodix heads on it, and then I went 1095, and I think I took the belt from him again.
Yeah.
And that would have been 11 or 12. And then you built something, I think, that had nitrous that went 1080.
Yeah, but I don't remember it being the fastest having the 1080. So, yeah, I had tried a 671 supercharger and killed a whole bunch of parts doing that. Fast, but yeah, I did put a nitrous kit on the Chevelle, but still had a mechanical fuel pump, and flat out ran out of fuel in third gear, and melted. Luckily, didn't melt any pistons, but melted spark plugs enough to where I didn't run it again. But it did go 1080 in 2014, but I don't believe that I was the fastest with that 1080.
So the 1095 that I did, that engine lost a rod. 1095 engine. No, that one lost the cam lobe. So then I went hydraulic roller. This was right before drag week of 15. And that engine slowed me down.
Yeah.
And I think you had a small block at the time, 1120. So
yeah,
I peaked at a 1095. That stood for a while.
Yeah.
Then everyone's back in the 11s again.
Right.
And then I want to say you brought the 540 out as the first engine to hit.
The 540 was built to beat you. I remember.
So they must have been beating the 1095.
Well, I remember.
And then you just smacked it.
Right. I said, you know what? I said, I'm tired of that guy with that green Nova running his mouth all the time, talking about how fast this car is. Yeah. We don't need a small block. So I said, let's build a big block. And it's not the biggest, but it was big. I mean,
yeah. So 450 bore. That's the good bore.
Yeah. I fixed all the bugs that were in the car, and by 17 came out swinging. And the car had gone on the motor I think 10:29.
10:29 is the time slip that I have in my mind and on my phone.
Yeah, 10:29.
That was the time to beat.
That was the time. That was it. Then you did not like that at all.
Well,
because I remember specifically you saying, I'm going to beat you with less than 500 cubic inches. I remember that specifically you saying
oh
that.
yeah. The idea was, yes, to outrun a 540 with something that has an OEM block in the 496, 489 realm,
Right.
or range. But you weren't, I guess, I don't know if it's pride or what, but you weren't willing to go the extra mile to move that time to like 999. Like, you wouldn't take off your exhaust. Like, I'm taking off my exhaust. I'll take off my hood. I'll take the door. I'll take the seats out. I'll do whatever I need. You're like, this thing's bad enough. He's never coming
so
for me.
there's the question out there, and everybody asks it, and everybody gets a different answer. But the question that everybody asks, and there's a whole nother podcast for that, but what is your definition of a street car? And my definition of a street car is a car that drives on the street the way it drives on the track. So when my car shows up at the track, the only thing that changes is a little bit of air gets let out of the tires, maybe pour a little race fuel in and unload all the crap that's in the trunk. It's driven in race mode.
Okay.
So
that's good to know.
Exhaust taking off, it would have had to drive to the track, exhaust off, which I'm not opposed to.
Well, you just bring a jack with you. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, but then you're no longer in the street mode.
Okay.
If you didn't drive it there that way, then you're not.
All right. Well, that's a good explanation.
So
I
yeah,
have no idea why
my
you
race
never
car is my street car, not
went
two
the
different
extra
cars.
miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean the same, but
Well, yours are two different cars. Your race car has no exhaust on it. Your street car does.
oh, I'll keep that in mind. But my street car can have a roof rack. It can have
Yes, mine doesn't
no
have
exhaust.
all that. Mine's
it can
just
have
a
whatever,
car.
right?
Mine's just a car.
Yeah. 10:29 was the time to beat.
Yeah.
I built another big block. I think we did the bigger hydraulic roller. So I had a hydraulic roller, and it slowed the car down from the flat tappet that I wiped the lobe on.
Yeah, I remember kind of laughing
And then
silently.
The heads, the heads were burning a lot of oil, right?
Was it
The guides wore out on drag week. Like,
was that all through the heads? Because I
it must
remember
have been
telling
through the
people,
guides.
I'm like, I don't know how he made it through drag week. And was that in
That was 15.
Oh, in 15, yeah. I'm like, I said, I saw him at least pour 3 gallons of oil in that car.
So then I ran out. I said, because I'm on the Chevelle forum all the time. That's where I got all my big block knowledge in the early, or 2010 to 2015 range.
Right.
Because that's before Facebook took off and you had all these Chevelle forums and big block forums and all that. So there was forums on the Chevelle site is where I got all this info from.
Yeah, Team Chevelle.
Team Chevelle, exactly. And people were going back and forth between the Brodix heads and the AFR 265s. And I kept saying, well, if you want really to max it out, the 265 is a better head. I'm like, well, Black Friday comes along the year I ordered my 265s. Sold the freshly fixed Brodix heads because we took them to get fixed.
Yeah. Didn't we buy our heads on the same
week, probably?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I remember mine came on a Black Friday sale, too.
So this was probably right after we took the hybrid engine, the 540, with my heads after they got the guides fixed.
Oh, right.
After drag week, guides fixed on a year engine. We called it 540 Mutt. We dynoed it at 635 horse. One trip to Memphis, one pass, radiator hits the fan. 675 at 100 and something.
I was ecstatic, too.
We were like, oh, this thing would have gone way faster. We had all this other stuff we could have done. But since we destroyed the radiator, we were done.
Right.
AFR heads for me. And Shane spec'd out a 650 lift hydraulic roller. And that's the cam that I'm like, man, this should be faster. And then I did some stuff with the converter. So I was like at 1040. Because I found out during drag week that when I took the mufflers off, my number was down by your number, the 1029, right?
Right.
So on drag week in Atlanta, I went 1040. That was the first time it was in 18.
Oh,
in 18, I went 1042 in Atlanta on terrible weather.
Wait a minute. Because
Okay.
there was another rivalry on that drag week because I had the wagon now with a whole different engine 2 years later. Now it's got a 427 small block in it and a fuel system enough to support nitrous. So with 150 shot on it, the car went, for some reason couldn't get the nitrous to work on the first day, but the second day it came alive and the car went 1065, some weird number like that. And I remember coming back like, oh, my car's faster than yours. And it was the next pass. You went a 100th quicker. And like I said, I don't remember the number.
Yeah.
But I do remember 100th quicker.
So by 18, you'd already dropped the valve on the 540?
Yeah. 18, the 540 had already come apart, and that's why the wagon went in 18.
Okay.
So, yeah, 540 was done.
Yeah. All right. So it was short-lived.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I get close to you in 18 on drag week. That fall, I'm like, oh, when the good air comes to St. Louis, because our track's only 400 feet elevation, and when we get 60-degree weather, it's damn near sea level or right below what I call mine shaft air.
Right.
And I went 10:06 that year, thinking I was going to get that 11:90. I'm like, oh, because the weather in Atlanta was so bad.
Yeah.
So now I surpassed the 10:29 and I smacked it.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got into the nitrous business with the big block and have proceeded to move the needle even further.
Yeah. What year was that? What year did you buy your nitrous kit?
Nitrous kit probably 2020, 2021. Right around
okay.
COVID-ish.
So I had nitrous for a while before you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tried a pass on nitrous, 100 shot at Tulsa. Like my son and I, Bobby.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Part of the All Bob race team.
Yeah.
Special trip to Tulsa just to go nines.
We're gonna go to Tulsa and run nines.
I had the progressive too lazy coming off the line, and we didn't do it. So it took a little while for me to finally come back to the nitrous again and get it done. But now you have another car. Because I've moved the needle so far, you're like, I have to put a whole bigger cage in the 66. Yeah. And I don't know if I want to go that route.
Well, so I also have, it's hit or miss. I have, so on 150 shot, I'm just hitting it all out of the hole. If the track would take it, it would take it. If it wouldn't, it would shake the tires. It would spin tires. So on drag week, since I wasn't really concerned with making a fastest pass, I would always put all my soft things in the trunk so they weren't beating up the car, but I would put at least 50, 60 pounds worth of junk in the trunk just to get the car to hook. I wasn't worried that it slowed it down a tenth or two because all I wanted to do was get in that 32 car bracket. Mm-hmm. But if I felt that the track would take it, I'd take the junk out and see how fast it would go. But so now with the nitrous small block in it that was in the wagon, it has gone on 150 shot. It's been like 10. It was faster than the big block. It was like 1028, something like that. So then we upped the nitrous shot a little bit. But I'd kind of always been in the mindset like the car's legal to 10.0 and that's all I'm going to do with it. Fighting traction issues and stuff like that. I don't really want to do any more to the car. So that led me to couple of years of just kind of sitting back going, I don't care if I beat Bob Rupel. He can be faster. I'm not playing that game anymore. I don't care. But deep down inside, I really did care. And I said, what's it going to take to beat this guy? And so I was going to pull a trigger. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go put a cage in the car and I'm going to back half it. So I make a phone call to Larson.
Yeah.
And say, hey.
And that's who's done both of our cages so far.
Yeah. So and they're like, well, why don't you use the guys in St. Louis? Well, because Larson gets me in and out, and the guys in St. Louis tell me it's 6 months. So I make a phone call to Larson. I say, how much to back half my car? $40,000. I said, whoa. I said, seriously? He goes, yeah. And he starts throwing prices at me. This costs this costs that. I said, okay. Nix that idea. That's not happening. Like, I'm not going to back half the car. And then I'm sitting there thinking. I'm like, you know what? I could buy a car for less than $40,000.
That's already 850 certified.
Right. So yeah. I'm thinking that plus the Chevelle's kind of heavy. I don't like the cut on it. Let's get something that's already cut to pieces to beat this guy. So I bought a back half 64 Chevy 2 that weighs 2,800 pounds. but it's not ready yet. But it's going to have to be the car that does it. So now it's kind of what, in my mind, I think now it's a race to the 8s, because Bob's been 905, 907, 150, which is
spoiler alert for a video coming out.
Oh, oops, sorry. It's been 9/10 quicker than my car's ever been. I did blast a 200 shot on mine just to see how fast it would go, just to see if I could get into the 9s, and it went 996, 131 miles an hour, 132, something like that. But the Nova, it was like a running, driving car, but now it's not. So the engine's going to have to come apart, and we're going to have to do some things to it. But I do feel that on the motor is not going to beat you. But with a 200 shot, I think it's going to put me in the 8s.
Yep. So a long way to get to our list. I'm number 1 again. He's coming for me.
Yeah.
We're going to have more of these videos and more talks about this, Drag Week, what we like about that. I don't know kind of what your thought is, but my car on the motor, well, I guess I am a little bit faster than you on the nitrous even. But to you, is it a bigger deal to you to be faster motor only, or when we start doing nitrous tunes, all you got to do is put the bigger jet in, right? And whoever's willing to put the biggest jet in will be the fastest. So do you think it's a bigger deal to be faster NA, or if you're going to put a pill in it, go ahead and poison it?
So what are you going to go around and brag? So the problem is you're like, ooh, I beat Chips a small block, but then you're gonna go look back at me like, ooh, I beat Bob Ruppel with a 33-inch wide tire. So again, they're two completely different animals.
Yeah.
And
well,
honestly,
you mentioned it too, right? The tire size. So your new car is effectively back half.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's got a gigantic tire. I mean, it should hook on gravel better than your car does. But yeah, I figured that's what it was going to take. Plus, I'd always wanted one. I'm like, they're
cool.
Yeah, we're going to get down a boogie. We're going to have to make it nasty.
But I think that's the thing about these racing events that we do that spoil us, because we see these guys running 6s on effectively a 295 or 275 drag radio. Yeah, it's like, you don't need all that tire to be that fast anymore.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I bought the car, and you're like, that's not going to fit in any class. So I'm like, I have to fit in a class? I said, that car has one purpose and one purpose only. And you're like, yeah, what's that? I said, to beat that green Nova. I said, I don't care what it takes. So anyway, it was bought for that.
Yep.
Whatever class it fits into, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, it probably doesn't matter at all if it makes any class, right?
Right. No,
that's what the other car's for.
Right.
All right, so that's we're to the list now, and we're gunning for each other. We want to be the first of the 8s within our little group of buddies.
Well, I mean, I think that's the next progression. I mean,
I'm knocking on the door. I was supposed to do it already.
Right.
I failed.
Right, but for you, you're not going to just sit back and wait for me to beat your number and then do it, because now you're going to try to beat me to it. Yeah. So yeah, you're building an engine. I'm getting ready to build an engine. So I think there was even talks that if my engine was done quick enough, that we would tow it down south somewhere and make it happen. So
all right. So now, okay, that's news to me.
Yeah, it was. That it just depends on how quick we can get it together.
So I have to find out where they're doing sick week testing in January and see if I can get that number.
Ooh, you think you'll be ready that soon?
The new one, probably not.
Yeah, but, so I'm not scared of you.
This current engine is capable. The mile per hour is there. All I got to do is fix the 60. If I can get another 500s out of 60, we're there. All right. Thanks for watching.